Welcome to Tech Topics brought to you by Cybervenger. We help keep small businesses stay protected and compliant with cutting-edge cybersecurity and IT solutions.
Hello everyone and welcome back. My name is Andy. I'm the managing consultant for Cybervenger. We're going to talk a little bit about a big news item this week. Actually last week. We're a little late to the party commenting on this, but that is the cyber attack exploiting a flaw found in the MOVEit software. So a little background, there is this thing called a zero-day, for those who don't know what that is. A zero-day exploit is any exploit, any flaw in a computer program that the manufacturer and the general security public in general doesn't know about. That's why it's 0 day. So it's not the first day, it's zero. They don't even know about it, and it's already being exploited. Typically, there is a security cycle that goes on all the time. You have a piece of software that gets released, there's some flaw or vulnerability with it, a patch comes out, the patch gets installed, and you're back to using the software securely. Happens all the time. In fact, it's something we call cybersecurity hygiene. Well, that's a part of cybersecurity hygiene. There's more to it, password management and that sort of thing. But the idea is that this is normal. This is kind of routine, right? A 0 day is special because you get exploited first. Then they find the flaw. Then it gets patched. Then you protect yourself. This is a bad thing. It's also becoming a little more common these days than it used to. That's because there's a lot more money and a lot more maturity in the bad guys in the industry, right? So there's an evil industry, cyber hacking industry. So why is there an industry? Because there's money in it now. Ransomware really changed the game for cybersecurity. Because before it used to be bored punks causing mischief, or really bad marketing companies that would hijack people's computers and push pop-up ads and sell that to low-end companies that didn't know how to market otherwise. So there wasn't a lot of money there. There's money from suckers that thought this would make them rich, advertising this way. So there's some money in it. But now, once ransomware came out, you can't get your data until you pay the ransom, unless you've prepared properly. So let's talk about it a little bit. What kind of attack was it? It was a 0 day attack, so that means the exploit was known by the bad guys first before it was known by the good guys. So there's no chance to protect yourself in terms of patching. And there's no good way to fix that. That's kind of an ongoing struggle. That's a cat-mouse kind of thing, a little back and forth there. There's things you could do, but it's not watertight like patch management is. If you consistently do your patches, you'll never get exploited by a known vulnerability if you do them on time. That's a big if, mind you. But if you do that, you're good. 0 days, you could do all the things right and still kind of lose. So that's why it's challenging. But with the type of attack they did is they did a ransomware attack where they encrypted the data and you can't get to it to pay ransom. But that was the low end of the attack. The worst part is they did what's becoming more popular now is data exfiltration. So they copied the data and they pushed it up the internet, and now they have a copy of it. What kind of data was taken? We'll talk about that in a minute, and that's one of the reasons it's so significant. But the idea is, with a data exfiltration, once you have your victim's data, you could do anything with it. You can release it publicly to embarrass the company. You could exploit it to give yourself marketing data that you wouldn't know otherwise. Like you could steal all kinds of, do data mining on a competitor's company and find out what they're doing right, and you could fix it and you can advertise better. Maybe that company spent $10 million to figure out that 18 through 25 year olds spend more on snacks than 25 to 30 year olds. Whatever. I mean, you get the idea. They could exploit that information that way. They could take customer lists and send marketing information to it. They could sell that stuff on the dark web so that other people could take advantage of it that way. There's all kinds of things you could do with information. You could also exploit it for things like, depending on what the information is, you could exploit social security numbers, addresses to do fraud, and credit card fraud, identity theft, that kind of thing. So that's one of the reasons they do data exfiltration, is they have a second attack that can kind of roll out. That, and because you can't truly prevent it all the time, you can only kind of resist it, it's tempting for people to pay. If I have a backup and I can get my data back and I'm working again, why would I pay you? There's zero reason for me as a victim to pay you now, right? If my data's locked up, you can pay it. And also with the ransomware, the good thing, if you will, is if you pay it and your data works again, okay, now you know that if you pay, you can get your stuff back. So there's a incentive for the bad guys to actually deliver when you pay the ransom. You pay the ransom, you get your data back, because then you hear news stories of people getting their data back. By paying, it's going to encourage people to pay. And people know whether or not they get their data back, and they're going to talk about that. And if people don't get their data back, they won't pay. Data exfiltration, on the other hand, if you pay to not have your data used and exploited, how are you going to know? Like, if I can't open my Word document that has some critical data in it, I'm going to know because I can't open it. But if the bad guy has my Word document and I pay him not to give it to my competitors, how would I know that they didn't give it to my competitors? How would they know that they didn't start their own business and exploit that data or do whatever it is they're going to do with it? It's not so concrete. So there isn't the reputation motivation. So ransomware gangs, like individuals or groups of gangs, kind of had a reputation they were trying to build. They only have their own marketing, right? And they always wanted to have the reputation of, we're going to take care of you as long as you pay us. You pay us, that's the right thing to do. That's going to get you out of trouble, because that mindset's going to make people pay. The data exfiltration folks have a different motivation. Not only can they get away with exploiting your data because you don't know whether they did or not, but they're also tend to be state-sponsored. What that means is they don't care whether you pay or not. They hope you do because it's always useful, right? But they're sponsored by a government. The government is doing damage to another entity's industry or people. It's politically motivated, so they don't care what happens to their reputation. This particular group is purported to be the Clop Cyber attackers, and it's a known entity on the internet, and they actually published samples of the data that they took on their website. And they also said some statements that, hey, we did this is the data as proof, and they said some political statements about it, which we'll talk about in a moment. It's really important to understand who is attacking you and why, because it helps you to protect yourself. It helps you stay a step above them, right? Understanding why ransomware attackers encrypt your data, who they are, what their motivation is, you know that they want money. They want you to pay above all else. That will tell you that, okay, well, they're probably going to give me my data back because they want the next guy to pay. And if they don't, the next guy might not. So that gives you a little bit of a calculus there as to whether to pay or not. And you also know that the only reason that people pay is because they can't restore from backup. So, all right, I can take that information, knowing my attacker, and know that if I invest more money in my backups, I can recover, and that's going to stop this from happening. That's not the case with state-sponsored, because they may just want to take you down, and they don't. And if you pay, they may not give you your data back because they don't care if you're back up. They want your money because that's always useful. I mean, who doesn't want money? But that's a secondary objective. The primary objective is to hurt the group or the nation or the people or whatever it is they're going after to achieve political objectives. And if you pay the ransom or not, the objective is still accomplished to them, right? So it's not alone enough to be able to not have to pay them. And then that's why data exfiltration, I think, is a telltale sign that you're dealing with a state-sponsored actor. Yeah, I mean, the ransomware guys will do the same thing. But again, with the ransomware guys, they could sell your data and you wouldn't know it. So what's the point in paying, right? Ransomware, you can't get to your data. That's an immediate hard stop. It's in your face. You can't deny it. That makes the Bitcoin come out. This esoteric theoretical threat of data being released, I don't think it drives the payday as much. So that's why I don't think the ransomware guys push that as hard. Now, let's get into the political of what would the state-sponsored actor do with this data? Well, a little quick shout out to Upper Echelon, another YouTube channel. I'm sure I have no idea who we are. We're a lot smaller than they are. They gave a really good in-depth detail of the kind of data that got taken, who it was taken from. And that's not so, I mean, it's a little bit important because it tended to be a lot of government data, both data about the employees, government employees, like personal data, like things like social security numbers, and things like confidential drawings or plans for, say, an Abrams battery cable. That's not top secret stuff. It's controlled, unclassified information. It's a whole type of data that needs to be protected in a certain kind of way. We talk about this a lot in videos. We have these NIST 800-171 videos. Go watch those if you want to know more about CUI and how that could affect you. Hint, if you're making something and the government's buying it, you need to comply with that. So you really want to read up on it. Anyway, I don't go into that. What I think is interesting is that they got both government data, a lot of it, mind you, because this particular program happens to be used by government contractors. And they also got corporate data. Banks tend to use it to push information back and forth. On their website, this is the most interesting thing I think of this whole thing that's unique. On their website, they publicly say, hey, don't worry about this government data that we got. We're going to delete that. It's government data. We don't want anything to do with that. We're going to delete that. But these corporate guys, they're going to have to pay. They're going to have to pay up. We're going to go after them. That's kind of backwards, isn't it? You think about it, again, CLOP is a state-sponsored actor by Russia. Well, Russia is going after Western interest because Western organizations, governments and such are supporting Ukraine right now, and they have a conflict with Ukraine, right? Weapons, material, training, all kinds of stuff. And Russia has said many times they're going to retaliate us for that sort of thing, and they're trying to discourage it. So you would think that they would say the opposite. Hey, you corporations are not directly involved in this. Don't worry about you. You're not the real bad guys. We're going with the bad guys, which is the governments that are aiding Ukrainian terrorists. I mean, this is what a Russian would say, right? Russian government official would say. So here is this group that purportedly, is in line with or directly is the Russian government saying exactly the opposite. Now they're going after companies. Now, maybe it's because they're trying to perpetuate the myth that they are a ransomware company and they're just making money. Thus, if you pay, the problem goes away. Like there's something slightly less nefarious about a company that it's not personal, it's just business, right? But with governments, it's personal, it's political, it's you have no idea what they're going to do. Money isn't really a motive to the government. Control is. And maybe they're trying to protect their image as a ransomware gang, but I don't see that working so much, and it doesn't sound right to me. I don't know what they're trying to do with that. There is a point, though, that I want to make for anyone watching this, is remember, these are not good people. Nobody good is going to be engaging in cyber espionage. Nobody is going to be taking people's data and threatening to release it. Nobody's going to be releasing social security numbers. Nobody's going to be breaking into people's computer and demanding a ransom. These are all telltale signs, proof pudding. These are bad people. And I have this conversation with customers all the time, and it's tough for good people to put themselves in the mindset of a bad person. And that is the crux of what I always say with people, that security is not a product. It's a practice, and you need to have a mindset of security. You got to think like a bad guy. So these guys are saying something on their website. It's a lie. You immediately assume that anything a hacker tells you is a lie until proven otherwise, right? Now, if they will only give you your data back if you pay them, well, okay, you could put two and two together and figure that's probably the truth. But if they're saying that they're going to delete data, why would they? You'll never know that they deleted it. They're lying. Of course they're not going to delete government data. Of course not. I mean, no hacker is ever going to delete any data they manage to get their hands on, because there's so many ways you can use that data to get in to help you exploit other vulnerabilities. A lot of social engineering. Social engineering, you pick up a phone, you pretend to be somebody, or you trick people, or think con artist stuff rather than cyber acting. So you can take this data you got from a cyber attack and use it to do good old-fashioned con man kind of things. And that's what these organizations will do, both politically and profit motive guys. So you got to know they're lying. But it's interesting what lie they're telling. And it's not that they're not going to delete the government data. It's interesting that they're trying to make you think they're not. And I don't understand what they're trying to do with that. What are they trying to make themselves look like a good guy? Why would that be a good guy by going after companies? Are they trying to say that big corporations are the enemy? Trying to make them look bad? Are they just trying to scare? Maybe they're trying to make people think they don't have to worry about the government to bring the threat level down. Maybe they're trying to prevent, maybe they're trying to encourage complacency in the government agency, or they're trying to, fend off over retaliation. I mean, this is a big deal. If you're going after government data like this, you could really piss them off, and then maybe we send more weapons, or maybe we start sending troops in, or who knows? Maybe Russia's trying not to overstep their bounds, because there's a delicate balance here. We have two nuclear powers at odds, and there are things each side can get away with. Cyber attacking in general has kind of proven to be the thing states can do to each other without escalating to violent conflict. So, that's another major reason why there's so much cybersecurity problems. Why is it a big deal today, not so much yesterday? That's part of it right there, right? It's political. You can get away with hitting somebody in their computer system, but if you hit them across their borders, they're going to fight back in a bloody way. And you don't want to play those games with parties that have nuclear weapons for obvious reasons. So maybe that's part of it. I don't know. It would be really interesting to see what you all have to say on that, what your theories are. Why would they say that they're going to delete data? We know they're not. We know they're lying. They have this data. They're going to exploit it. I mean, duh, right? I mean, you'd be fooled to think otherwise. That's why I go back to never pay a data exfiltration attack. Never, because it gets you nothing. But it's interesting that they bother saying it. What do you think? Why is it happening? Put it in the comments. I'd love to have a discussion. As always, thank you so much for your time. Have a great one, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching. We hope this video has provided valuable information to you. Be sure to share this video with other small business owners to spread the word about the importance of cybersecurity. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this. If you want more information about cybersecurity, visit us at www.cybervenger.com.